Ever since its teaser announcement a few years ago, I've been eagerly awaiting the first big-budget AAA Avengers game, outside of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I'd always hoped that I would get the chance to play as these iconic heroes from a third-person perspective in a team-up game, because their solo outings previously weren't marvelous. Yes, pun intended. Finally, Marvel's Avengers is here. Very much like the team itself, it's fun, but flawed. Also, full spoilers from this point on. Nothing crazy like the final boss. However, if you want to go in completely blind, I would wait on this video until you finish the main campaign first. Greetings, Legionnaires. The day has finally arrived, a day I've been waiting for a long time, and yes, it might be a couple of weeks after that day, but still, Avengers is here. Now, for a lot of people who know me and this channel, you know I've been waiting for it, and I realize that it might not be the most polished game, and there's a lot of crazy stuff to get into about, like the strategy involved with, like, the implementation of this game going forward. But I really wanted to take my time and dissect the game and really get into it to give you guys kind of a feeling for what the game has been like over the last couple of weeks that it's been out, as opposed to kind of giving you those impressions just day one. Because my reviews, it's not called timely reviews, they're called critical reviews, right? So, yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun here today because, man oh man, this is a fun game. I will give you that much right now. And as to not kind of... what's the word? I don't know if bury the lead is technically the correct terminology, but this is a good game. It does have caveats, so keep that in mind. But, let's just stop rambling. I'm just going to get right into it. Here's my review for Marvel's Avengers. The majority of the campaign is seen through the naive eyes of Kamala Khan, or the future Miss Marvel. Since the disastrous events of A-Day, the Avengers broke apart. 5 years later shows that Advanced Idea Mechanics, or AIM, has somehow managed to take over the world with their robots and scientists. Their goal seems to be complete world domination and eradication of Inhumans, or individuals who display superpowered abilities, after being exposed to Terrigen gas. Kamala, as an Inhuman in hiding and major Avengers fangirl, eventually sets out to reunite the team against this global presence. Honestly, I was concerned that the campaign would be something that stood in the way of getting to the good stuff, also known as Endgame with buddies. However, I was surprised to find some really fun levels and character moments throughout. I was also concerned that Kamala's overexuberance would wear thin, but it didn't, and the introduction of the whole game was such a memorable moment that I won't spoil here. Oddly, I really craved more interaction amongst the crew of Earth's mightiest heroes. One of the big selling points of the game was a group of world-renowned voice actors, but their roles seemed rather minimal at times. All the performances were excellent, but I just wanted more banter back and forth between them. A good chunk of voice work is tucked away in these audio files which, while a nice touch, felt like they could have somehow implemented them into the actual story more efficiently. Think audio logs that automatically play in some games like Horizon Zero Dawn. Jarvis and Maria Hill are funnily enough the voices you hear the most, especially in the postgame. Again, all very well done, but I just thought there would be more interaction within the main story itself. The campaign took me about 15 or so hours to complete. Pretty straightforward with some cool set pieces, especially when you have to go into space to rescue Captain America. Yes, he didn't die in A-Day, he's front and center on the box art for goodness sakes. All in all, the campaign was solid. As always, I enjoy pointing out things I appreciated first, so let's dive into the highlights. Let's talk about the characters, how they control, and how you make them stronger. At launch, there are 6 characters in total: Miss Marvel, Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, Thor, and Captain America. They all come with standard light and heavy attacks, along with evasion/blocking to some extent. Depending on your character, a small bar underneath your health, called willpower in the game, is a unique resource to your chosen Avenger. For example, if you're rolling with the Jade Giant, he builds up rage as he attacks or takes damage. Holding down right trigger, in my case on Xbox One, will cause him to expend that meter, but also allows him to regain health and do extra damage. If you're playing Captain America, on the other hand, that determines how much you can block with your shield. I really appreciate the nuance of this mechanic, along with the fact that while most characters can feel a little similar at times, that they are very different when it comes to using them in combat or just traversing around the world. This is not an open world game though, but you will go on missions that will allow for a little free roaming. You typically have one major objective, but can find secret chests and elite enemies that can offer you some excess gear. There are too many quest types for me to even attempt to explain here, but in my experience, they come in a few flavors. training rooms, aka harm rooms, that you fight wave after wave of enemies, linear missions inside a base where you complete an objective or two, shield vaults that have you set out in an open area to find a hidden gear cache and fight waves of enemies to unlock it, hive missions where you tackle multiple linear mission types in a row, and boss missions that have you do some objectives and either fight a clone of one of the villains you bested in the main game. There are also side iconic missions that are focused on the main team of Avengers. These, to me, are some of the best ones. They demand you use that character, which sometimes means leveling up someone you haven't played a lot of yet, but it feels like these outings could have almost been implemented into the main campaign itself. Something on many folks' minds is probably, how does the combat feel? When it's firing on all cylinders, and the frames aren't dropping like Thor in that Hulk prison from the first Avengers, it feels great. Each hero is, as previously mentioned, distinct and really fleshes out as you upgrade them. The skill trees, at first, look intimidating. But after the first one, most of them allow you to place one skill point and choose one of 3 effects. This effectively allows you to build your Avenger in a more specific way. My Thor, for instance, does more damage with his bare hands and charges up his Odin Force supercharge meter much more rapidly. Basically, I enjoy punching Mjolnir-pinned enemies while lightning constantly flashes around me. Also, my heroic ultimate ability, Bifrost, pulls the fiery atmosphere of Muspelheim with it, causing a burning area of effect on the ground when I return to the battle. Little touches like this really endear me to certain characters and playstyles which I might otherwise take no notice of initially. You are allowed to change the specifics of certain skill trees at any time, allowing you to craft your hero for the occasion. My preferred heroes were Thor and Iron Man. I really enjoyed flying around and all the versatility they had when it came to encounters. On the flip side, once I got the hang of controlling Hulk and Cap, I really enjoyed them too. Widow and Marvel are solid, but I just wasn't into Natasha's guns or the body horror that accompanied Kamala. Just a personal note that you all definitely needed to know. I do want to mention your main base of operations, the Chimera. It really comes together over time and allows you to get a better look at where the Avengers live. Small touches such as giving everyone the chance to attempt to pick up Thor's beloved hammer and having brief optional conversations with other team members are really great. While I wish I could sit here going on and on about how the game is flawless, it simply isn't. I want to start with the gear system. It isn't bad per se, but it does feel somewhat forced. On a character like Iron Man, a gear system makes perfect sense. But because Marvel's Avengers touts a games-as-a-service model, the loot hunt needs to be necessary for every character. I applaud the fact that even though the gear itself is basically invisible, that they at least attempted to make the armaments being discussed here narratively appropriate for each hero. Like seeing various nanite infusions for the Hulk versus numerous scripts to place on Mjolnir. My issue is that it rarely feels as engaging as it does in other games. The core principle of this title seems to be to place you in the shoes of this legendary team. However, when you can simply hold one button to equip the best loot, it lacks the meaningful progression you see in other games. I get that this is somewhat darned if they do and darned if they don't in an approach, but I figured it bears mentioning. This is only one of 3 levels you have to be concerned about in the game for each character. You have hero level, gear level, and your challenge card. Currently, you can get to a max hero level of 50, which basically unlocks all skills, a gear level of 150, and a challenge card level of some higher number. The last one is mostly aimed at acquiring cosmetics by completing daily and weekly quests. You can use real-world money to expedite the process, but it will cost you a lot. The gear level of a hero seems to be the most influential, as you need to meet certain power thresholds to attempt tougher missions. This is where playing with your friends comes in, and brace yourselves, Legionnaires. The bugs, they are aplenty. Let's begin back with my beloved Captain America. For some odd reason, I thought that this very cool story mission would be excellent to capture for the review. Little did I know that it would take me a multitude of attempts to get Cap to run along the wall during this set piece. Could be user error, but I assure you, it was maddening. I despise when you have to repeat moments like this in a story mode. Lessens the impact, you know. However, let's chalk that one up to my own inability to utilize the sweet Cryo Captain, and instead turn our gaze to the multiplayer. First off, shout out to my boys, the J-Strom, Minimal Egg, and J-Boy for fighting alongside me. The last two on that list were pals I met during random matchmaking, so there's one good thing to come out of this. Sadly, our time together, while fun, was riddled with hilarious immersion-breaking instances, such as Hulk falling endlessly here, to nights where we simply spent upwards of 20 minutes trying to get in a game together. Multiple game crashes, invisible enemies, objectives that would not count as completed, stuttering music and audio dialogue, and this terrifying Captain America face were ubiquitous. Some of these stumbles were endearing, sort of a, hey guys, look at this, to which we would all laugh and move on. On the flip side, the difficulty trying to group up and maintain that crew was just disheartening. For reference, I played on an Xbox One, like I had said before, but it seems that these issues plague the game regardless of where you play. Also, as our team was occasionally able to tackle a few missions together, we began to notice that the same environments were utilized again and again and again. This is understandable because with a game such as this, you're bound to see the same interiors remixed into other missions. However, this is where I think changing up locales, especially interiors, is a must. The Marvel Universe is massive. Dream locations like Asgard, Latveria, and even the inevitable Wakanda would have gone so far to making repetitive missions more bearable. Credit where credit is due, though, the exterior open-world-esque environments are varied. The creepy thing about them is how devoid of life they are, and that the windows in most buildings seem to be a flat texture that just warps to however you view it. Doing my best to keep it in perspective, I think Marvel's Avengers will be much, much stronger a year from now, with all the additional free heroes, missions, and whatnot, along with a whole host of bug fixes. But, as of right now, the technical state of the game is mediocre at best. Last nitpick. I do not like how health is called willpower. So you're telling me that the Incredible Hulk can lose the will to fight? I had to say that out loud. Overall, Marvel's Avengers has a lot of potential. The main story is good and does a nice job of introducing you to the styles of each champion. The moment-to-moment gameplay is addictive and causes you to gravitate toward a few Avengers over others. I can see in those brief moments when I'm playing with friends and the frame rate isn't diving, there are so many possibilities for an excellent game here. But if you aren't a die-hard fan of the MCU and or just the Avengers in general, I recommend that you wait on this game and come back to it once the technical aspects are ironed out. My recommendation comes with this caveat though. Get this game if you absolutely adore the team and have some buddies to play with, but hold off if you're going solo or don't have patience for a whole host of technical issues. Finally, please put Ghost Rider in the game, Square, Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, anybody who's listening. I will not concede this point. And there you go, everybody. That's the review. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do believe that for people who got it on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, there is the chance to upgrade it in the future if you do actually pick up the next generation of consoles. So keep that in mind too. I'm really interested and curious to see how this game is going to shake out over the next months and year or years, because this is definitely that kind of games as a service type where they'll kind of keep adding characters and different missions and stuff, and we'll see how much of that stuff is going to be free. They've said pretty much all of it will be, but we'll see. Also, a lot of the skins, in the game, you can work to get with currency within the game itself, but you can also use like real-world money to purchase that currency to get that stuff easier. So that's where probably a lot of that money is coming in for them over time. But yeah, those caveats, just keep them in mind when you're gonna, thinking about getting this game. But for a lot of people, and these reviews, because they're a little bit later, a lot of people have already kind of picked it up and are interested, and they're maybe checking kind of reviews later on to see what the consensus is or whatnot. If you're watching this later and you have played the game, I honestly want to know what you think. I really do. Please comment down below. And if you're on the fence about it, or if you're just like, no thanks, I'm totally fine, because I know a lot of the Legionnaires are kind of like, I'll watch you play it on Twitch, but I'm not really going to pick it up myself, which I totally understand. But yeah, I've had a pretty good time playing it, and it's one of those games I think I'll keep going back to. because I've wanted another kind of game like this since Monster Hunter World, and I think this might be it for me, personally. Again, it's not going to be for everybody, but, kind of keep that in mind and keep that bias there, when you're listening to what I'm saying as well. But yeah, I'm a big Marvel fan, and if you are a really big fan of the films, there's a lot of stuff in here that you're going to be like, oh yeah, Thor did that move just like he did in the first Avengers, stuff like that, where you kind of will pick up on things and be like, oh, that's so cool. A lot of cool attention to details like that. Anyway, thank you for being here. If you want to support us, consider checking out our Patreon, where we have some lovely people, as you can see, who support us at the $5 tier and up. If you want, we've got 3 tiers, $1, $5, and $10. And you can go support us over there. We also have Twitch, like I was talking about. You can subscribe over there. Those ways really help a ton. But honestly, we're trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year. So if you could just share us around. If you're not subscribed already and you watch a few more videos and you really like us, consider subscribing then. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe right after this video, but I want you to check out some other ones. Check out the reviews playlist and tell me what you think of all of it. I really honestly want to know. I'm trying to make critical reviews the biggest and best it can be, and that's all because of you. So thank you for checking us out today. I appreciate it greatly. Yes, we also have Instagram and Spreadshirt. I have to remember all these things. Links are down below. Either way, thank you for being here today, and until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye, guys.